Hare Krishna. So let us start with this prayer for invoking auspiciousness. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna-presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. So welcome back to the Wisdom of Bhagavad Gita sessions. We are on chapter 4, which is called the Transcendental Knowledge. And in Sanskrit, this chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So we have covered in the last session up to verse number 13. So just a quick summary of the last session from verses 7 to 13. So we saw that Lord Shri Krishna appears in this material world numerous times, like innumerable times. He takes avatar innumerable times. So it is not that only he appeared 10 times, which is called the Shavatar. They are prominent avatars, but they are not the only avatars or only times Lord Shri Krishna appears. And when does he appear? We saw that whenever there is a decline in religion and there is a predominant rise in a religion, at that time, Lord appears. And why does he appear? So three purposes were mentioned. That he comes to annihilate the demons, to reestablish the principles of religion, but mainly he comes to deliver the devotees and to have relationships with devotees, to reciprocate with their love. So then, after understanding why he appears and for what purpose he appears, then someone may have this problem that, okay, the Lord appeared a few thousand years ago and again 500 years ago at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but somehow or the other we did not take benefit of those appearances. So what to do now? So Lord Shri Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvata tyaktva deh punarjanma naiti namameti. So Arjuna. So even if you couldn't take benefit at that point in time, even though Lord is not present in front of us at this point, just by understanding the transcendental nature of his appearance and activities, we can go back to Godhead. So not only the people who were present at the time when the Lord appeared, they get benefited, but even all of us who couldn't take benefit at that point in time, just by remembering and understanding those pastimes, we can get liberated. So this is the glory of Lord and Lord's activities. Then how does Lord reciprocate with us? So Lord said, Ye yatha mam prapadyante, tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. That as we surrender unto him, he will reciprocate with us accordingly. If we have enmity and envy towards us, then he will say that, okay, you remain here in this material world. But if we have love for him, we want loving reciprocal relationship with him, then he will also have this loving relationship with us. So that is the surrender. As we surrender unto him, he will reciprocate with us accordingly. So it is not that he is partial towards devotees. He's just reciprocating in a similar way as the devotees are trying to have relationship with him. So he's reciprocal, not partial. So understanding this, that just by worshipping the Supreme Lord and even just remembering his pastimes, we can get liberated. We can go back to Godhead. Still, why some of the people are not worshipping the Supreme Lord? So it was mentioned that not everyone worships Supreme Lord because some people, they are mostly interested in, like most of the people are interested in sense gratification, and they want their result immediately. If they start worshipping the Supreme Lord first, as a as a loving father, he wants to purify our heart, and then he would want to give it to us, whatever we are asking for. And that may take some time. And because we are not interested in purification, we are just wanting sense gratification, then we see that some people actually do not worship the Supreme Lord. So is there no hope for them? Can they not progress at all towards the Supreme Lord? So the Lord says, don't worry. I have made arrangement for them as well. I have created this 4 varnas and 4 ashrama. Chatur varnam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. So he has created this varna and ashrama system based on guna and karma. So what is guna and karma? Guna means what kind of material modes are acting on us. And karma means what kind of skills that we have developed now. So the modes are acting on mind and the activities we are doing with our senses or the body. So based on our psychophysical nature, these 4 varnas and 4 ashramas are created. And these are created so that we can go towards the Supreme Lord, even if we are not able to take the Krishna consciousness process immediately and fully, but at least with Varnashram system, we can progress towards the Lord slowly. So this is the purpose of Varnashram system. So that is what we were talking about till last week. So let us look at verse number 14 and 15 now. So let us start from verse number 14. न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते. Who wants to read? Yes, Mantramalam Prabhuji, please go ahead and read the translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. There is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. One who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of work.
Yeah. So the Supreme Lord is non-doer. So we have seen this before as well, that in the 3rd chapter as well, the Lord had said to us that no actually work that he does, like he doesn't have any need or any wants. He doesn't have any desire, any material desires. That is why no work that, like any work that he's doing, is not binding him, just like it is binding us, because we have material desires. We want to enjoy the results. That is why the activities that we do, they bind us here in this material world. But the Supreme Lord, this is not applicable. So it is saying there is no work that affects me because he doesn't do any work with some attachment or some material desires, nor do I aspire for the fruits of action. So that is the reason why it is not binding him. So we do all our activities with the desire to enjoy the result of our activities. But Lord Shri Krishna doesn't have any material desires because everything is owned by him. And one who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive reactions of earth. So this is quite interesting and very similar to 4.9, which was saying, one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving this body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my spiritual nature. That was mentioned in 4.9. So here as well, it is said the same thing. So those who understand that the Lord Shri Krishna's activities are not material, they are transcendental, they are spiritual. So those people will get liberated. They also does not get entangled in fruitive actions. So this is similar to 4.9, but also similar to ye yathamam prapadyante tam sathaiva bhajamyaham. So those who are understanding that Krishna's karma is transcendental, so Krishna reciprocates with them by making their karma as well transcendental. So they also then lose the material desires towards the result, and then they also become free from the material activities, and they will just get engrossed in the spiritual activities only. So this is 4.14. Now 4.15. एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वै पूर्वतरं कृतम्. Yes, Pamendra Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
All the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty, following their footsteps.
Yeah, this is fantastic again. So this is a tried and tested method. Lord Shri Krishna is saying that do not worry, this is not something new that I'm inventing for you. It is a time tested process. that those who understand that my appearance and activities are transcendental, they get liberated. And many people in the past have done the activities in this consciousness and they have got benefited. They have come back to me. So what you have to do? You don't have to invent anything new. You have to just follow in their footsteps. So this is a very important point for all of us, that it is very, very difficult to understand what kind of karma that we should be doing. We should do this work or that work, and how we should do it. So simple thing that we should do is accept a spiritual master, and then based on whatever instructions that we get, we follow those instructions. And by just following those instructions, we can go back to Godhead. Because many people in the past have done this, and just like they have done it, following in their footsteps, we can also do the same thing, and then we can also progress towards the Supreme Lord. So in these two verses, it is mentioned that we have to actually understand that Lord Shri Krishna is a non-doer. And if we understand this and following in the footsteps of liberated soul, if we do the activities, then we can also become non-doers. We can also get liberated. Okay. Now Lord Shri Krishna starts talking about karma. Very important point. Like in the beginning of the overview of chapter 4, we saw that the Lord is talking about, he is giving the transcendental knowledge about the transcendental knowledge. He gives the knowledge about himself, and he gives the knowledge about karma. So what kind of karma that we have talked about, all these people who has got liberated in the past, what kind of karma they were doing? So that is why now the Lord is talking about karma here. Let us see what he says. Verse number 16. Kim karmeti kavayopyatra mohita tatte karma pravakshami yajnatva mokshase shubhat. Yes, Margi Mataji, and then Tripti Mataji, you can do the next one.
Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune.
Yeah, nice. We'll do the next two verses as well. Karmano yapi bodhavyam cha vikarmanah, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is.
Yeah. Karmanya karmayah pashed, akarmani cha karmayah, sa buddhiman manusheshu, sayukta krishna karma krut. Yes, Surananda Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. On who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji. So these are three wonderful verses, 16 to 18, and they are talking about karma, vikarma, and akarma. So in the 16th verse, first of all, he's saying even intelligent people are bewildered to understand what is best, like how to act, what is karma. And we can see that this is a question that everyone asks, even when those who are spiritual seekers and they start following the process. But most of the time, they have this problem that why these bad things are happening to some good people, and why sometimes the bad people seem to be enjoying, but the good people are suffering. So this how the karma works is very, very difficult. It is gahana karmano gati, very difficult to understand. And even intelligent people cannot make uh, cannot understand, and they get bewildered by this action and reaction process. So what should we do in that case? The question was already answered before he started talking about this. Because it is so difficult to understand what is karma, what is vikarma, what is akarma, and all of these, what we should do is we should follow the great devotees. And in the purport of 16, Srila Prabhupada mentions that we should follow the 12 Mahajanas. So let us read the last paragraph of purport from the verse number 16. Who wants to read that paragraph? It is said that one cannot ascertain. That one you can do. Yes, Sudharma Mataji, please go ahead.
It is said, Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Hare
it is said that one cannot ascertain the ways of religion simply by imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord Himself. Dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam, Bhagavatam 6.3.19. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahalada, Bhishma, Shukadeva Goswami, Yamaraja, Janaka, and Bali Maharaja. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain what is religion or self realization. Therefore, out of causeless mercy to his devotees, the Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you. So it is mentioned, these 12 Mahajanas are mentioned here. They are 12 great devotees of the Lord. And just by following in their footsteps, whatever actions they have performed, and the way that actually they are not only devotees, but there are some appearance of the Supreme Lord as well, like Lord Kapila. So by following in their footsteps and the instructions that they have given, by following them, we can go back. So that is why it is mentioned that even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. So now the Lord is explaining. And he has already mentioned that just by following the footsteps of the great acharyas, great devotees, we can make progress. Now the 17th verse is again saying, 16 said that even intelligent people get bewildered. 17 says why they get bewildered, because gahana karmano gati. It is so hard to understand how karma works. But even though it is so hard to understand how karma works, we should at least understand three things. And what are those three things? Karma, Vikarma, and Akarma. We must understand, even if we cannot understand anything about the karma and its reactions or the law of karma, even in that case, we should still understand this minimum knowledge, which is what is karma, what is Vikarma, and what is Akarma. So what is karma? Karma is the activities which are given in the scriptures, that what we should be doing. So the activities done according to Vedic injunctions is called karma. And what is the result? If you do karma, which are the activities which are recommended in the scriptures, then we get good results. So generally we take this word karma very loosely, but karma has multiple meanings. Sometimes karma means the action that we are doing. Sometimes karma is used with a meaning that it is the reaction of the activity. Sometimes karma is used as law of karma, which is the action and reaction. And sometimes here in this place, karma is used as sukarma, which is the good karma. So in general, when it is talked about in this context, karma, vikarma, akarma, that means karma is a good karma. So the activities which are given in the scriptures and recommended for all of us to do, if we do that, then we get good results. So in India, we call them as punya. So punya karma. So we have done some punya, good activities we have done, sukarma. Now what is vikarma? It is the opposite of karma or sukarma. Vikarma is the activities which are prohibited in the Vedas, that we should not do it. And if we do these activities, then we get bad results. So we call them papa or sinful activities. And some of the sinful activities which are given in the scriptures, which we have to give up, they are like meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. These activities, no matter in what context we do, these activities are always going to give bad results. And that is why we have to give up these activities. These are sinful activities. Then what is akarma? So karma gives good reactions. Vikarma gives bad results or bad reactions. But akarma is work performed for Krishna's pleasure, and it has no material reaction, good or bad. So actually, we should be focusing on doing akarma, even though everyone actually recommends to do some good karmas. Punya, we should be doing punya, people say. But actually, the recommendations of the scripture is not to do karma or vikarma. The recommendation is to do akarma. Why? Because even if you do karma or vikarma, you have to remain in this material world to enjoy the good results or the bad results. So from that perspective, both karma and vikarma are bad for us because we will still remain in the material world. If our goal is to go back to the spiritual world, then doing karma or vikarma is not going to help us. What is going to help us is akarma. Akarma is the activity which doesn't give any material result. These are transcendental activities because they are done for the pleasure of Krishna, of the Supreme Lord. So again, it is same as 4.9 where Krishna has said that if you know my transcendental nature, like the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities, then you will get liberated. So if we actually know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we also know that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and we are servant of the Supreme Lord, then automatically we are going to serve him. And all those activities which are done with this consciousness that I am the servant of the Supreme Lord, those activities will be called akarma and they will liberate us from this material world and take us back to the spiritual world to serve the Supreme Lord there. So what can we learn? So we should move on from doing this karma or vikarma because both are bad. We saw this just now, and we should actually then do akarma only because if we do karma or vikarma, we remain in this material world. Only by doing akarma we can go back to Godhead. Now, akarma, there is one more interesting thing. Not only that akarma does not generate new reactions for us, but it also frees us from the previous reactions. So whatever karma or vikarma that we have done in the past, so that bank balance of karma is also getting vanished when we start doing akarma. So not only new reactions are not generated, but the previous reactions are also burned down. And that way our karma balance becomes zero. And only when our karma balance becomes zero, we can actually get liberated from this material world. So that is our goal, to make our karma balance zero. If we keep doing good karma, we are still putting something into that bank balance. Whether positive or negative doesn't matter. At least, okay, positive, we get some good results out of it. So if between karma and vikarma we have to choose, we should do karma, not vikarma at all. But between karma and akarma, we have to choose akarma because if we keep doing karma or vikarma, we remain in the material world. Akarma can take us to the spiritual world. And how to do akarma? So understanding the intricacies of action is very hard. So how to do it? Best is to follow in the footsteps of 12 Mahajanas, which were given in that purport that we read, or we have to follow in the footsteps of the pure devotee. So how do we do that? We just talked about that we should accept a spiritual master and follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And that way we can progress towards the Supreme Lord. And the fourth chapter will also talk about little later about spiritual master. So I'm just preempting that for you. So little later, probably in the next session, we will see this. But fourth chapter also mentions that transcendental knowledge should be received from a spiritual, bona fide spiritual master. Okay, so let us go to the next verse. It is verse number 19 now. यस्य सर्वे समारंभा कामसङ्कल्पवर्जितः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पंडितं बुधः. Okay, if no one else is
Prabhu,
putting
can I
their
read?
hand up. Yes, Ashoka Mataji, go ahead.
Okay, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Translation. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose very endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification he is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reaction of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So from this verse onwards, from 19 to 23, now there are some symptoms of someone who's in knowledge. They are mentioned. So till now, the Lord mentioned that the people get bewildered while understanding what is karma, vikarma, akarma, and what is karma or action and inaction. Then it was mentioned that gahano karmana gati. It is very difficult to understand. But now, from 19th to 23, there are various symptoms of a person who's in knowledge. That is mentioned. So what is the first symptom mentioned here? So the first symptom that is mentioned is endeavors. This person's endeavor are free from desires. So they do not have material desires. They may have spiritual desires to serve the Supreme Lord, but their endeavor, their activities are free from material desires. And the second one, the reactions of the work have been burned by the fire of perfect knowledge. And Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport of this verse that what is that perfect knowledge? That I am the servant of the Supreme Lord. And in that knowledge, if we do activities, then all reactions are burned. So a very simple thing that we have to understand from this, that we have to do all our activities in the perfect knowledge that you are the servant of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And if we do activities in such consciousness, all activities becomes akarma. And that is how we do not generate any negative or positive results. And our karma bank balance becomes zero. But the most important thing is, in that consciousness, if we keep doing our activities, we'll develop love for the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. But that process of bhakti will come little later on. We'll talk further about that. But the main important thing here that we should understand, that all our activities we should do in perfect knowledge. And what is that perfect knowledge? That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am servant of the Supreme Lord. And in that consciousness, we should keep doing all our activities. Okay, let us move on to the next verse and see some more symptoms of a person who's in knowledge. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya trupto nirashrayah karmanya abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Who wants to read? Okay. Yeah, Melissa Mataji, you can read, and then Mahendra Prabhu, you can read, and then Mantramulam Prabhu, and then Pamendra Prabhuji, because you have raised it second time.
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady both in success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions.
This is a little bit different than what I have. Yeah. So abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. Maybe different various. Yeah, it got edited probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but similar meaning. So what are some of the further symptoms which are mentioned here? So the third symptom is he abandons all attachment to results. Actually, this detachment to the result is the key symptom for a person who's doing Nishkam Karma Yoga. He should be free from this desire for enjoying the results. And that is possible only when he is satisfied, ever satisfied. So Tripti Mataji, here your name has come, Nitya Trupto. Nitya Trupto means ever satisfied. Tripti means satisfaction. And Tripta means satisfied. So here this person is called ever satisfied. So he is ever satisfied, Nitya Trupto. So only when we are satisfied in whatever situations we are in, then we will not have desires for getting more and more other material things. And such a person will not have these material desires, and he is in knowledge. And it is said that he is independent. So it is not that it is said that he is independent of the Supreme Lord. Independent is a translation of nirashraya. So he's not taking shelter of any material things. So he's not dependent on property or material relations or insurances or whatever like that. He is just independent of these material things. He's taking shelter of only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nirashraya. And he performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of activities. So basically, it is very important point here is, it is said that he performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of activities. So such a person is not giving up actions, like Arjuna is wanting to give up action. So Lord Shri Krishna is re-emphasizing here. He has mentioned that before, but now he is mentioning it again, that such a person doesn't give up activity. He keeps doing all kinds of activities, but he's not performing fruitive actions. Fruitive actions means any activity where we are actually trying to enjoy the fruits of the action that we are doing. So he's not interested in the sense gratification. He's interested in pleasure of the Lord. He's just doing actually in the Nishkam Karma Yoga state, he's doing the duty dutifully, just for the sake of doing the duty he's doing. So that is what is mentioned here. And this verse describes a sadhaka. And the next few verses are now explaining the person who has reached the higher stage. So this verse is explaining the person who is actually practicing. So he's is practicing the satisfaction. He's abandoning the result, the attachment that he has for the result. He's actually giving up the shelter that he has taken of all the material things. So he keeps doing all the material all the activities, but without the consciousness that he wants to enjoy it. But once he becomes siddha, or he becomes perfect in his activities, or his nishkam karma yoga, then what is the stage that he reaches? That is explained in the next few verses. So let us look at verse number 21. Nirashiryat chittatma त्यक्त सर्व परिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषम्.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions.
So three more qualities are mentioned of this person who is now perfected in the knowledge. What are those? He acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. His mind and intelligence is not now wavering here and there. He has given up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions. He is not thinking that this body is me and everything related to this is mine. So he has given up that proprietorship nature, and he acts only for the bare necessities of life. He's not thinking that he will actually be satisfied in anything that he gets without over endeavoring in his life. It is not that he is not working. We saw the previous verse that he is doing all kinds of activities, but he is not over endeavoring. Over endeavoring means any activity that is actually coming in between our spiritual progress. So as a householder life in our life, we may have to actually work, go to office and work. It is not that you have to give up the work, but we are not over endeavoring. We are not thinking that, oh, I have to actually do instead of 8 hours, I'll do 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours of job so that I can buy more properties, I can buy a luxury car, or I can have this, I can have that material things. So without over endeavoring, whatever work you are doing, and in that, whatever you get, the person is satisfied. So he acts only for the bare necessities of life. He's satisfied even if the bare necessities are received, he's okay with that. But it doesn't mean that if by doing the normal work, if you get enough Lakshmi, then that can be utilized in Krishna's service. And of course, as a prasad, it can be used by the devotee as well. Just like in case of Arjuna or all the other great kings who have been devotees. It is not that Arjuna, when he was acting as a king or a prince, He was just putting some old clothes on his body, thinking that, oh, I'm just satisfied with the bare necessities of life. No, he had nice silk clothes, but he was not over endeavoring for it. When he was in the forest, when they were banished for 13 years, at that time, he did not have any silk clothes. He was just probably using some tree bark or something, but he was happy with that. And when he had a lot of Lakshmi, when he was in the kingdom, at that time he was putting silk clothes, some gold jewelry, some jewels and whatever, and he was fine with that. So without over endeavoring, whatever bare necessities, whatever we get, we can utilize that in Krishna's service. So Melissa Mataji, you have some question. That's why you have put your hand up.
No, sorry, I just realized when you read the next one, I must have had 2 pages stuck together, and I actually read text 22.
Oh, that's what I was thinking that.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, he who is satisfied with gain, which comes on its own accord. Yeah, which one?
I read 22.
Yeah, 22. Yes.
That means we might have missed.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So he acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled. He has given up all sense of proprietorship and he acts only for the bare necessities of life. Let's look at 22 now. Yadruchhalabhasantushto dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha krutvapi na nibadhyate. Yes, Mantramulam Prabhuji, it is your turn or
Yes,
Pavan?
yes,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
please go ahead.
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions.
So some more qualities are mentioned of a person who has perfected in this knowledge. So he's satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. So we already talked about it. He's free from dualities. So in this material world, we keep on endeavoring, we keep on acting because we are thinking that, oh, I am poor and somebody is rich. I I have a cheap car and someone else has like an expensive car. So these dualities we are actually are entangled in. And because of these dualities, we keep acting or keep doing some actions for our own enjoyment. Or we have envy that, oh, how come this other person is richer than me? Or how come he has more material sense gratification than me? So I should also have it. And that envy leads us to do more and more activities. So, and he's steady in both success and failure. So this success and failure is also important. And we have seen in the second chapter as well, when the Sthita Prajna was mentioned. So success and failure, both we should be steady. Because otherwise what will happen if someone uh, is affected by success or failure, like say, suppose some failure comes while doing the dutiful activity, then he will think that, oh, I'm a failure. It is not working out for me. So I better actually give up the activity itself. Or if someone is attached to success, so sometimes he will get success, he will be happy to do it, but sometimes he sees that, oh, success is not possible in particular situations, so he'll give up the activity, saying that, oh, there is no point in doing the activity. So he's not doing the activity as a duty. He's attached to that success, or he is averse to the failure, and that is why this both are actually attachments to success and failure, and that is why he will not be able to remain steady. And he is never entangled, although performing actions. Because of all of these, the way that he's doing activities, he's never entangled. So Dharma Mataji, you have some question or comment?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like Krishna was talking about the 3 types of karma. Then why we are talking? He's talking about like the symptoms of the person who is doing the activities, like so that we can follow or know or difference between what is akarma or try to become like them.
Yeah, actually, if you see the flow of the Bhagavad Gita, before Arjuna asked this question about what is lust, like what is the main enemy. And before that, Lord Shri Krishna was talking about Nishkam Karma Yoga. So that topic was going on. Now, because Arjuna asked this question about what is stopping, so Krishna actually had to stop that conversation and talk about lust and how lust is, where it is, and how we can conquer it. But then, as part of that, he was also mentioning about the transcendental knowledge that you have to receive. Because then, with transcendental knowledge and by controlling the senses, we can, by regulating senses, we can overcome lust. But then again, in the third verse, Arjuna asked, third or fourth verse, he asked that how is it possible that, how do I understand that you have given this knowledge to sun god? So that is why he talked about himself a little bit. Now, all of that topic is now completed. So Krishna is going back to the topic that he was discussing, which is Nishkam Karma Yoga. So we are losing the track of what that conversation, but Krishna is not forgetting what he was talking about. So once he has actually finished the subtopic and the next question was also answered, he is actually going back to the Nishkam Karma Yoga topic that he was discussing in the third chapter. And he's just continuing from there. Also, it is related to the karma topic as well, though. So he has used that topic to get into his Nishkam Karma Yoga topic again. Because it is, he's going to talk in the next verse about how inaction. Oh, actually, did we actually miss that completely? Oh, yes, that's right.
We had that.
Actually, we'll go back to verse number 18 that we were talking about earlier. And that was an important verse that I actually did not even explain. Yeah. So here we were talking about 16, 17, 18. So we talked about karma, vikarma, and akarma. So there, this verse number 18, which we read the translation, but actually I missed explaining that. This is a very interesting verse. It is like a puzzle. So what Lord Shri Krishna is saying, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. So what is this action in inaction and inaction in action? It is like a tongue twister that he has put in here. So it is simple to understand. So Lord Shri Krishna is saying, who's intelligent? The person is intelligent if he understands action in inaction and inaction in action. So what it means, let's look at one at a time. So what is action? Seeing action in inaction. So someone has given up the activity, like Arjuna is saying that I will give up the activity and I will go to the forest, and his purpose is, or his idea is that I will do inaction. I will not do any action. So I will give up the activity. So that is inaction. Are you understanding that part? So inaction. So he's trying to do inaction. So I will give up the activity. But Lord Shri Krishna is saying that you should understand that there is action even though you are doing inaction. How? So he has already explained in the second chapter that it is your duty as a Kshatriya to fight. And even though you are choosing inaction, that is, you are giving up the activity, it is still going to give you the result, which is sinful reaction, because you are running away from your duty. So in a way that you are doing no action, but still you have got sinful reaction. That means there is action in inaction. Also in the third chapter, Lord Shri Krishna explained that if you try to do this, do the inaction or give up the activity when you are not ready, then it can lead to mithyachara. Mithyachara means you are a pretender, and in the mind you are still thinking about all these things that you have given up, and because of that, at least in a hidden way, you may try to do those activities, and that way you will still get the sinful reactions. So even though you have given up the activity, still you are getting sinful reactions. That means there is action in inaction. Now let us look at the other part. Seeing inaction in action. So you're doing activity, but somehow or the other, if you do not get any result, then that is inaction. So if Arjuna fights the war as per Krishna's instruction and for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then he is not going to get any result out of it, like any material result out of it. That means even though he's doing activity, he's not going to get any reaction. So it is an akarma. So inaction is a akarma. And this is what the Lord is explaining that we should, so Arjuna should focus on inaction, not the other way around, where he's trying to do inaction, but he will still get the result out of it. So Krishna is actually explaining to Arjuna that don't choose this option of action and inaction. Choose the option of inaction. Is that making sense or did I confuse you? I'll pause here for a few seconds to digest and let me know if you still have some question about this action in action. Yes, Tripti Madhuri.
Is it because what I understood is, but tell me if I'm wrong, Prabhuji, just being aware of what we are doing and keeping Krishna in mind, and just putting all our, like, it's like a prasada, whatever we are doing, it's for his love. Just being aware and having that thought is enough for us to understand this inaction and action. We are doing the action, but it's all what I'm understanding. It's basically the thought process and thought what we keep when we are doing or working, being aware of what we are doing, and and keeping those
Yeah,
thoughts.
that is there. Like thinking has to be there. Like,
Yeah.
but actually the activities as well, we have to choose according to what Krishna has recommended us to do. So, for example, if we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and we are his servant, so what the servant should do then? The servant should do as instructed by the master, isn't it? So it is not that servant is only thinking that, oh, master, say suppose servant has been asked by the master that go and get something to eat. Now the servant is thinking that, oh, what master likes, but then goes to the shop and gets what he likes. So thoughts and the action are different. So it is not only thinking that you are the servant of Krishna, but your activities also should be like that you are a servant of Krishna. But it will start from your thoughts. So first you can think that, oh, what the Lord likes and what are his instruction for all the living entities and for me, that if that thinking comes, then the thinking will turn into proper actions. So
Yeah. Prabhuji, the next question which I have might be different from what we are doing. So you can say you don't want to answer right now, but this is something, if we are born in this world and in this particular family, or how I got in touch with you and the community what we have, in the next birth, can I pray for, like, okay, I should continue having this in the next birth as well, because I know that I'm not complete. And what if, like, I want to continue and I know that I won't be able to go to Godhead in this, what the activities I have done till now.
yeah.
So
So you should pray, Mataji, that in this lifetime you get the determination to complete and completely become a devotee. So why we should actually think about the next life? You like in the next life, I don't know how it will be. Like as Krishna has said in the second chapter, that whatever spiritual progress that you have done, you will never lose it. And you will just start from there. But you never know whether you will do it in the next life or not. For example, if you suppose you complete only over 20% of the process in this life. So yes, the 20% will never be lost. You will just always start from 21. But it is not necessary that you will start it from the next life itself. You will get an opportunity to start, but you still have a free will to not start in the next life. So
Yeah.
it may so happen that you will get opportunity to start from the 21%, but you say that, okay, in that life that you based on your association or whatever, you may choose not to do it. And you
Hmm.
can just give it up. And it may happen that after 100 more lifetimes you have taken, and at that time, again the opportunity comes, and then at that time you will start it, and you will again continue from 21% itself.
Oh,
But why leave it to the next life? Now
yeah.
that we are in touch with devotees, now that we have got this seed of devotional service, we should pray in this life that somehow or the other I get the determination to complete this process and develop love for Krishna in this life.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, if you are anyway praying, why actually pray for the next life? Pray for this life.
Because half of my life is gone and I have not
No, no,
done.
no, don't worry about half of the life.
Yeah.
Many devotees who have taken this process later than you, and still they have made wonderful progress. Because Lord Shri Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He's not thinking that how many years of practice you have done. But as soon as we knew that this is possible, if we have taken it sincerely, Lord Shri Krishna will take it, accept it. Okay? Okay,
Thank you,
let's
Prabhuji.
move ahead. So we have covered till verse number now 22, right? So we'll go to now 23. गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence.
So गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसा यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते. Now all of these things which are mentioned, now the Lord is comparing that to a yajna. So this work of such a person is a yajna. So yajna is generally what we say that, okay, we do some fire sacrifice and then we are offering something into that fire. And then that process we called, oh, this is yajna that we have done. But such a person, and we saw this, the person who's in full of knowledge, how he is doing the activities unattached, understanding that he's a servant of Krishna and that is how he's doing all of these activities. So his work itself becomes yajna. Why? Because yajna actually has two meanings or multiple meanings, of course. But yajna itself, that term, is technically it can refer to the fire ritual that is done, the fire sacrifice that we do, where we offer oblations to the higher beings, some devatas or the Supreme Lord we can worship through yajna. Actually, yajna also means the Supreme Lord. Yajna is another name of the Supreme Lord. So whenever we put some oblations into yajna, even though we may be chanting some devata's name, it is actually all going to the Supreme Lord. And Lord Shri Krishna says in the fifth chapter at the last verse. When we go there, we will talk about that more. But the generic meaning of yajna is that any activity in which we give up something enjoyable for a higher purpose. So if willingly we are giving up something which is enjoyable for us, but we have some higher purpose, then that is a yajna. So because this Nishkama Karma Yogi is actually giving up his material enjoyment, his sense gratification propensity. But for what purpose? He's doing it dutifully so that he can actually serve the Supreme Lord. So this becomes a yajna in itself, like this work is becoming yajna. So let us read the 24th, which is also talking about yajna. ब्रह्मार्पणं ब्रह्महविर् ब्रह्माग्नौ ब्रह्मणाहुतं ब्रह्मैव तेन गन्तव्य ब्रह्मकर्म समाधिना. Who wants to read?
Prabhu, can I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Krishna Prabhu. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which the consumption is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Hare Krishna.
So this person, it is actually, this word is used, Brahma and Yajna has been used. So Brahma, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam, everything is Brahma. So Brahma is spiritual. So for such a person, why his work is becoming Yajna? Because so he's unattached to the modes of material nature and fully situated in transcendental knowledge. So that is why everything that he's doing is Brahma. Everything is spiritual. So his life has become spiritual completely. So everything, so in Yajna, this fire sacrifice is spiritual. The thing that is put inside, that is spiritual. The mantras which are chanted, which are spiritual. The butter which is put there, the person who's chanting, a brahmana who chanting, all of that is considered spiritual. So such similarly, this person who's doing Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, everything that they are doing is spiritual. That is what is mentioned here. And now some of these verses which are coming, 25th, 25 to 33, there are various different kinds of yajnas which are mentioned by different people. So let us look at some of those yajnas. So we have 2-3 minutes. So let us cover at least 1 or 2 verses and then we will stop. Okay. So the 25th verse. दैवम् एवा परे यज्ञ योगिना पर्युपासते ब्रह्माग्नाव परे यज्ञं यज्ञेन वोपजुह्यति जुह्वति. Who wants to read? Yes. Shanti Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some of them offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So 2 different kinds of yajnas are mentioned here. So the first yajna is demigod worshipper or devata worshipper. So what are they doing? So they are putting their material possessions in the fire. Actually, they are doing the yajnas, the fire sacrifices they are doing. So whatever the material possessions are there, they are giving up. But what is their goal? They are giving little sense enjoyment to get more sense enjoyment. So devata worshippers are doing like that. And their sacrifice, they are doing by senses. And their yajna is called they are called Bahu Ishwaravadis, and yajna is called Dravyamaya. And these different kinds of yajnas is coming in the next 28th or 29th verse. And what is the other yajna which is mentioned? It is the yajna which is done by Jnana Yogis. The fire of Brahman, they want to put self inside. So Jnana Yogis want to merge into impersonal Brahman. That is their goal. So they merge into impersonal Brahman. That means they are giving up their identity or self by merging into Brahman. So that is the Brahman is the fire, and they are giving themselves, like their identity, into it. So that kind of yajna they are trying to do. And their sacrifices by senses and mind. They are doing a lot of mental speculation by reading Vedas and trying to find different meanings out of it. And such people are called impersonalist, and their yajna is called Swadhyaya. Let's read the further. Shotradini indriyanyane sanyamagnishu juivati shabdadin vishayananya indriyagnishu juivati. Yes, Mahendra Prabhuji, you had raised your hand earlier for the 26th verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Some, the unadulterated brahmacharis, sacrifice the hearing process and the senses in the fire of mental control, and others, the regulated householders, sacrifice the objects of the senses in the fire of the senses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So here there are 2 more yajnas which are mentioned. The yajnas done by brahmacharis and grahasthas. So what kind of yajnas brahmacharis are doing? They are actually giving up their hearing process and senses into the fire of mental control. What it basically means is they have taken a vow that they will not hear, or they will not engage their senses starting from hearing into any other material activities. So they will just completely, they are students. and they are completely engaging their hearing process, the speech, the sense, and all other senses in the service of the Supreme Lord. And their goal is purification. So their goal is Harer Namanukirtanam. They will engage all their senses in chanting the supreme names of the Supreme Lord. And how they are sacrificing? They are sacrificing with senses, starting with hearing. They are called brahmacharis, and their yajna is called tapomaya. Tapomaya means austerities they are trying to do. So they are trying to do tapomaya yajna. And the grahasthas, what kind of yajnas they are doing? So the object of senses. So they are regulating their senses, and in the regulation of the senses, they are putting the objects of senses. That means the grahasthas have some kind of freedom, little freedom that is given for them for enjoyment of their senses. But in that case as well, they are regulating their senses. So that is a yajna. So a grahastha can also be a person who is doing a tapomaya yajna. So their goal is purification again and higher transcendental life. And they are doing sacrifice by senses, by regulating their senses. They are called grahasthas, and their yajna is also tapomaya. I think we'll stop here. There are a few more yajnas which are there, but we'll cover that in the next session. Are there any questions, comments, reflections that you all have? Based on what we have covered today? Okay, then if there are no questions, comments, or reflections, then let's just summarize a few points. Each one of you can mention, or some of you can mention at least. What did we learn today? Did we learn anything today? Okay, Sudharma Mataji and then Surananda Prabhuji, you can mention.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think we started with what Krishna is talking about karma. So he pointed about the 3 types of karma. So done in good, done with the good activities that are done, which is normally called as karma, and then vikarma, which is bad activities, and then akarma, which is like no, it's not good or bad, so it's zero reaction. So that is akarma. And then he started to talk about the symptoms of people in knowledge who are performing these activities. So we covered many points, about 14 symptoms we actually covered.
Okay, no need to actually mention all of them. That's fine. Surananda Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just before that, we learned that Lord Krishna is a non-doer. So, so how to get liberated? We need to follow the footsteps of Mahajanas.
12 Mahajanas, yes. Very good. Margi Mataji?
Perfect knowledge is I am the servant of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. So we should do all the activities with Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, excellent. That is the main point today. Yes, excellent. Very good. Any other points that you want to mention? Anyone else wants to mention?
Prabhu, we did 4 types of yajnas.
Yes, that's right.
So, yeah. Grasta,
Grahasthas, brahmacharis, jnanis, and the devata worshippers. But what is anyone can mention what is yajna?
Yajna is fire rituals. Is it the second name is of Lord Vishnu?
Yes. Okay. Margi Mataji, you have some further points?
Prabhuji, yajna is we have to offer things which we can enjoy. Still, we want to sacrifice. Is called
Yeah.
yajna.
Yeah. So any activity in which we are giving up something enjoyable for some higher cause, that is also called, that is the generic meaning of yajna. Okay, very good. Surananda Prabhuji, you have any further point? And Sudharma Mataji? Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Another important point we learn, like action in inaction and inaction in action. So Krishna recommends inaction in action. So do your duty as per Veda's injunctions, and then leave the. I mean, it will leads to no results.
Yeah,
Or-
actually, do your duty in Krishna consciousness, then that will not result. That will not lead to any results, and that way it will become akarma. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes.
Sudharma Mataji, you are
Just about Yajna, Prabhuji, the definition, the two characteristics was mentioned. One is being unattached to the modes of material nature, and second one is you should be situated in the transcendental knowledge, which means like to understand like we are the servant of the Supreme. So that is the characteristics of doing a yajna.
Yes.
Called as yajna.
Nice. Okay, very good. So we will stop here. Thank you very much. And in the next week, hopefully, we may be able to complete the chapter. We'll see. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare
Srimad Bhagavad
Krishna.
Gita ki jai.
Yeah.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.